Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Xbox One.
Back in 2013, the anticipation for the reveal of Microsoft's next dedicated home console was ramping up, as it always does when the hype for the next generation of gaming comes around. If you're like me, then you probably remember when Microsoft took the stage at E3 and introduced the world to the Xbox One. You'll also surely recall just how disastrous of a press conference this was for both Microsoft and the Xbox brand. Instead of highlighting the leaps of next-gen gaming, they decided to attempt to sell us on the idea that the Xbox One was not just for gaming, but was an
all-in-one home entertainment system,
focusing on trivial things like watching cable TV, live sports, and other streaming services on it. On top of that, they also announced that the Xbox One would require a constant internet connection and DRM validation, meaning they were trying to eliminate used games and strong-arm gamers into the digital age. What's more is they would also force all consoles to come with their new motion control camera, the Kinect, meaning that instead of costing $400 like the soon-to-be-released PlayStation 4, the Xbox One would cost $500. This alone completely stifled the launch of Microsoft's new gaming platform, giving Sony the lead and would be one that they never really recovered from for the entire console generation. That's not to say that they haven't tried, and honestly, they have made one hell of a comeback since then, but the bitterness from gamers left many choosing Sony's dedicated console over Microsoft's, and resulted in the PlayStation 4 selling 3 times as much as the Xbox One. Less than a year after the initial release, the Xbox One received a Kinect-less version for $400, helping it become more competitive against the PlayStation 4. But Xbox was still struggling to keep up, and something needed to change.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Phil Spencer.
A seasoned Microsoft employee since 1988, Spencer made the move to become head of Xbox in 2014, and his leadership has been invaluable for the progress of the Xbox brand. He's led the push for many of Xbox's notable steps forward in gaming, being a huge proponent for cross-platform play, backwards compatibility, and player choice. That's not to say he had a smooth start to his new position at the top of Xbox. No, not only was he immediately receiving the weight of the Xbox One's failed launch, but just a few weeks into his new job, he received a call from none other than Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who expressed major concerns about Microsoft's involvement in gaming and the future of the Xbox brand. Spencer took some time to collect himself and prepared to deliver Nadella his proposition, to trust him and commit to going all in with the Xbox brand. This, of course, wasn't an immediate success, but the faith Nadella put into Spencer was enough to give Xbox the support it needed. Phil Spencer wasted no time in putting his plan into motion. Shortly after taking over, Spencer urged Nadella to obtain the rights to Minecraft, one of the most popular games ever made, and certainly the biggest at the time. This acquisition proved to both Nadella and the entire gaming industry that Phil Spencer and Xbox were not playing around. It was such a big move that almost immediately after the purchase, Sony phoned Spencer and asked if they would be removing the game from the PlayStation platform, to which he coolly replied, "Why would I do that? People like playing it on PlayStation." It was clear that he didn't want to alienate fans of the series just because they chose a competitor's platform, and this is a mentality that Spencer has carried with him still to this very day. The studio acquisitions didn't stop there either. In 2018, Xbox welcomed Compulsion Games, Undead Labs, Playground Games, and Hellblade developer Ninja Theory to the growing list of Microsoft studios. Strengthening their ever-expanding family of studios, In Exile Entertainment and Fallout and Outer Worlds creator Obsidian were added to the Microsoft Studios lineup. Following a name change to Xbox Game Studios in 2019, as well as some purchases of some smaller developers, Xbox did what no one could have ever saw coming. In September of 2020, one day before the pre-orders for the new Series X and S consoles went up, Microsoft announced that they had worked out a deal to obtain the massive ZeniMax Media for an astounding $7.5 billion. Now, for those unfamiliar with that name, you might be more astute to the names Bethesda, id Softworks, and Machine Games, who made Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, Doom, and Wolfenstein, respectively. This news completely turned the gaming industry upside down and is one of the biggest media acquisitions of all time, almost doubling what Disney paid for the Star Wars franchise. These procurements of developers aren't the only contributions from Spencer and make up just a portion of the ways he's helped Xbox turn themselves around. One of Phil Spencer's biggest mantras is his dedication to consumer friendliness. There's no better way to show this than with his massive pushes to steer Xbox in those directions. One of the earliest examples of this is his commitment to making sure the Xbox One started supporting backwards compatibility. In 2015, Spencer announced that select Xbox 360 titles would be making their way to the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. The list was fairly short, but he ensured that it would continue to grow over the lifespan of the console, a promise that he stayed true to, even eventually adding original Xbox games to the lineup. Fast forward to today, and the upcoming Xbox Series X and S is set to play virtually all of the pre-existing Xbox and Xbox 360 backwards compatible titles, as well as almost all of the Xbox One's library. Xbox's diligence on implementing this feature shows that they're willing to put in the extra work for players, even when it's an option that only a small percentage of that player base will use. What is maybe the best example of this is their commitment to making Xbox the most accessible gaming platform on the market, and nothing shows this better than the Xbox Adaptive Controller. This highly praised device began being conceptualized in 2015 by an internal team at Xbox and features a design that gives disabled gamers a much-needed alternative to the traditional controller. On top of that, Phil and the team wanted to make sure that the controller was universal and would work with any of the modern consoles, even the rival PlayStation 4, to empower gamers from all walks of life. Other contributions from Spencer's ongoing tenure as the head of Xbox include supporting Xbox Game Studio releases like Cuphead and Ori on the Nintendo Switch and making sure all first-party Xbox titles see releases simultaneously on Windows, showing Microsoft's dedication to its PC gamers as well. None of these could compare to what is unquestionably Phil Spencer's saving grace for the brand from the past decade: Xbox Game Pass. For those who still don't know what Xbox Game Pass is, I'll briefly explain it. Game Pass is a subscription service from Microsoft that costs $15 a month in the States and gives you Xbox Live Gold while also granting access to a massive library of games on both the Xbox and PC platforms. Not only has Xbox committed to releasing all of their first-party games on launch day to Game Pass for no extra charge, but their partnerships with many developers means that Game Pass has an ever-growing library of Xbox originals, as well as a huge selection of third-party titles. If this wasn't already good enough, they also just launched xCloud, a service that allows you to stream these games to a mobile device or TV without the need for console, very similar to what Google Stadia is doing, and xCloud comes at no additional cost to subscribers of Game Pass. Fellow YouTuber Yang Ye said it best when he tweeted, "Xbox Series X is just a vehicle for Microsoft's true next-gen platform, Game Pass." It really is one of the best deals in gaming right now, and is going to be a huge deciding factor in keeping Xbox relevant in the gaming landscape. Phil Spencer seems to have complete faith in the ability of Game Pass to rope players into the Xbox ecosystem, and honestly, I think it's working. Couple this with the acquisitions of massive developers and studios, while also committing to backwards compatibility, player choice, and accessibility, and Microsoft looks to be building the Xbox brand into a Goliath among the gaming industry. Phil Spencer's legacy at Xbox has seen the company go from one of its lowest points to what is arguably its highest, and the man himself can be attributed to a lot of it. His tenure at Xbox is far from over, and I think it's safe to assume that we will still see many, many great new innovations from Spencer and his amazing team at Xbox. But hey, those are just my opinions, you know. I'm not really loyal to any one specific brand. I love my Switch, my Xbox, and my PlayStation 4. But I want to hear from you guys. You know, what are you most excited about with the next generation of consoles, and for the future of gaming in general? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a like and subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, make sure to hit that bell icon so you get notifications every time I upload. Make sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram to hear more of my mild gaming takes and to see what I'm currently playing. With that, I have been TheNamesJER. Thanks for watching. See you later.